And Marcus, Lamar has sung the praises of Flowers for so long. What do you make of the Flowers deal?
I'm happy that the Ravens have decided and figured out who their number one wide receiver is. Think about how many conversations, Boogie and MK, we've had about guys coming in. It's seemingly been a revolving door at wide receiver with them trying to figure out who that would be. They drafted Bateman a few years ago, thought he would turn into that, but kudos to Zay Flowers, man. And everybody knows how dynamic he is with the football in his hands. He is a short game to take it 99. He can get deep. He has made explosive plays, and that's what this offense had been missing, quite frankly, on the outside. So for them to reward him with this contract, but also based on his production and obviously the boost from Lamar Jackson saying that that's my guy.
Yeah. I think that this contract makes sense. I know folks see him next to like Justin Jefferson and there's a reaction. He's not as good as Justin Jefferson. Well, first of all, the wide receiver contract market is going to get reset fast. Puka Nacua is up. He's going to blow this out of the water. And this will look reasonable soon. It always happens. But then as far as Marcus, you made a good point about the production. The Ravens, it feels like they've constantly been looking for a boundary receiver to pair with Flowers. But since Flowers has been drafted, so the last 3 years, he ranks 5th league-wide amongst all receivers in target share. He is the focal point of this Ravens offense. That's a big part of why they're paying him. And I'd also say this, in 2026, I know we think of a number one wide receiver as being that big-bodied X receiver, but with the way offense has evolved, play callers have gotten so good at finding ways to make guys like Flowers the focal point of the offense, using motion to get him free releases and space to operate in. And he's so shifty, so fast, the yards after the catch are there. So I do think while he is not your stereotypical number one, he is Baltimore's number one, and it makes sense that they paid him as such.
Marcus, we heard the players talking about Harbaugh there. Can a coach really change things that quickly?
Yes, they can. And I think the stability that this team has been looking for since Tom Coughlin is there. And John Harbaugh is a really, really good football coach. I was there. I had a cup of coffee with the Baltimore Ravens. I have a ton of respect for what he does at setting a culture and being a head coach before Ozzie Newsome cut my sorry ass and it was time for me to go. But I really enjoyed my time with him. I think he's going to do a lot for these young players. He's a former Super Bowl champion. He always is around the playoffs and going deep into the playoffs. And these young guys kind of need someone that can stand up in front of the room that gives you that belief that they know the way. And if you listen and you pay attention and you try to execute at the level in which John is going to expect them to, they will have a chance to be there in this division and have a chance to win football games. You got to get Jackson Dart to stop trying to bang his head against a brick wall. I know that's going to be difficult because that's the way he plays football. But ultimately, this team should benefit in a major way from having John Harbaugh. And that's why he was such a hot commodity when he was let go from the Baltimore Ravens by a bunch of organizations.
I mean, a lot of buzz about the Giants offense with their young playmakers. Good to see Malik Neighbors has been back out there. Seems like he's healthier. It feels like we've heard less, though, about this defense in New York. What do you make of that unit?
I think they should be improved, even with the loss of Dexter Lawrence, and that is a massive loss, literally a massive loss. But they did a few things I loved, one of which was to shore up the linebacker position, which is something, by the way, John Harbaugh knows the importance of, having good linebacker play coming from Baltimore. It was such a weakness for them last year, and a big part of why they were abysmal in run defense. The Giants have really, really talented pass rushers, but they're not big. Brian Burns, Abdul Carter. They need to be protected by linebackers. And now you go get Tremaine Edmonds, huge. Arvo Reese, very good tackler. I think that should help shore up the run defense, which was really like the failing of that defense last year. The pass rush was great. The problem was can't rush faster if you can't stop the run. So I do think that they're going to be much better at stopping the run this year, and that'll create opportunities for that pass rush, Marcus.
And MK, as you talk about that defense, you look at that linebacker core. The one thing Harbaugh has been known for, one with his defensive speed. And all of those linebackers can run. They can get sideline to sideline. How fast they diagnose, how fast they get to the football is going to be paramount. But when you start talking about athletes that can move around in space, that can find the football and how they will probably swarm because that's the culture that he's setting, this defense should be markedly improved. Now, they have some offenses that they're going to have to deal with. They're going to have to deal with Dak and George Pickens and obviously CeeDee Lamb and Saquon Barkley. We'll see what this new offense is in Philadelphia and if Jay Daniels is healthy as well. So you better have something you bring into the party on that side of the football with dealing with these quarterbacks and offenses that you're going to have to face.
Okay, A.J. Brown coming off his fourth straight 1,000-yard season, but his numbers took a step back last year. He averaged career lows in yards per reception, yards per route run, and yards per target in his final year in Philadelphia. After finishing second in yards per target in 2024, he slipped to 16th in the league last season. So, Amina, what needs to happen for Brown in this offense to put up big numbers this fall?
Yeah, well, I think the revamping of the wide receiver group, so not just Brown, but the addition of Romeo Doubs, which I think is one of the most slept-on additions of any team, is not only going to keep this passing attack operating at a high level like it did last year, I think it's going to open up opportunities on the ground. As good as the Patriots' offense last season was, they were not balanced. Very good throwing the ball, below average running, and I think that really hurt them in the postseason. There's a litany of reasons for that. Offensive line, a big part of it. I do think Trivian Henderson is explosive, but has to stay on the field as a pass protector. But I would also argue a big part of it was defenses not fearing, perhaps insufficiently, the pass game. The Patriots didn't face many light boxes. Now they've got A.J. Brown and Doubs on the field. You're going to see a lot more split safety coverage. So I think there's going to be opportunities on the ground for those backs. Throw Reggie Gilliam, one of my favorites, into the mix, lead blocking, and I think this run game could improve greatly over what we saw last season.
Yeah, I love. What more can you tell us about the extent of Walker's injury?
The early indications are that it is a torn ACL, Laura, which would be devastating news for Jalon Walker, for the Atlanta Falcons to lose a player that good this early. NFL Network has reported that the initial indications are that it is a torn ACL. There'll be additional testing that Jalon Walker has to go through, but that's not the news that anybody wants to hear, particularly on a day in Atlanta where they get the deal done with Bijan Robinson. They get him back on the practice field, and now you lose one of your best young players on the defensive side of the football to what looks like a torn ACL.
Oh, man. I mean, you just hate to hear it for all the reasons, right? Jalon Walker, Mina, and this Falcons defense that really has some holes to fill in big spots. Now maybe a massive hole to fill. If this is a long-term injury, Mina, just how big a loss is this for Atlanta?
This is massive, not just because Jalon Walker showed, I think, flashes of being an exciting young player last year, was going to, take a leap this year, needed to, but because they really needed him to generate a pass rush due to some of the players that they've lost and potential suspension for their rookie pass rusher last year, James Pierce Jr., who led the team in sacks. He potentially has a suspension related to a domestic violence arrest. Other players left. David Onyemata, defensive tackle, was quite good for them, gone. Caden Ellis, excellent blitzing linebacker, gone, back to New Orleans. And suddenly you look at a team that last year took this huge leap, going from 30th in adjusted sack rate to second. Finally, after Falcons fans had been begging for years, let's get after the quarterback. And now, who's getting after the quarterback? It's all very much in flux, Marcus.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the point. I remember us being on the show talking about the Falcons needing to address the pass rush with a four-man rush without having to bring extra pressure. This team went 4-0 in the last 4 games of the season, beat the Rams at home. We were there for Monday night, and it was phenomenal. I mean, beat the Rams on the road. It was phenomenal to see this young team starting to kind of find their way, and now you deal with an injury to Jalon Walker. The unfortunate part about this for him is I had him as a sleeper to explode this year. If you look at his ability to pass rush, what he was doing off the edge, he was winning one-on-ones. That's what you want to see from young players getting those matchups in the league. It's just super unfortunate. He dealt with some injuries last year during training camp. In 4 games, he had 4 of those sacks that ended up being 5.5 on the season. So you could start to see the explosiveness. This is very, very unfortunate. There's a mixed bag now going on with the Atlanta Falcons. So many good things happening from an offensive standpoint, obviously trying to figure out this quarterback situation, but getting Bijan paid, understanding who they brought in. Kyle Pitts talked about the goals of this team. Stefanski being the new head coach as well. This is just very, very unfortunate for a Falcons team, especially in a division that I still feel like was up for grabs coming into this season. But to you lose a young budding pass rusher like this is devastating at this point for the Falcons trying to assert themselves in that NFC South.